House Speaker Nancy Pelosi called the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement infinitely better than the original negotiated deal, once the Democratic Working Group got its claws into it. So let's take a look at what they did. You can find these very monotonous changes at the U.S. Trade Representative website. But you have to know what you're looking for, or you may not notice it. You need to look for Protocol of Amendments to the agreement between the United States of America, the United Mexican States, and Canada. That's quite the mouthful. And when you download it, it's 27 pages of remove this, remove that, and replace this with that. But the largest part of these changes center on about 20 pages of monitoring and enforcement mechanisms regarding Mexican labor. In fact, the U.S. and Canada have separate labor sections in the changes. So while this is boring stuff, let's review a specific example and then regroup for a conclusion. So in looking at the labor changes involving U.S. and Mexico, the Democrat Working Group inserted a rapid response labor mechanism in the section marked Annex 31A. So let's find that. It reads, the purpose of the facility-specific rapid response labor mechanism, including the ability to impose remedies, is to ensure remediation of a denial of rights as defined in Article 31-A.2 for workers at a covered facility not to restrict trade. Furthermore, the parties have designed this mechanism to ensure that remedies are lifted immediately once a denial of rights is remediated. So, what is this denial of rights? That takes us to the next section. Article 31-A.2, Denial of Rights. The mechanism shall apply whenever a party, the complainant party, has a good faith basis belief that workers at a covered facility are being denied the right of free association and collective bargaining under laws necessary to fulfill the obligations of the other party, the respondent party, under this agreement, a denial of rights. Now, it mentions a denial of rights having a footnote associated with it, so let's skip down to the bottom. It reads, with respect to the United States, a claim can be brought only with respect to an alleged denial of rights owed to workers at a covered facility under an enforced order of the National Labor Relations Board. With respect to Mexico, a claim can be brought only with respect to an alleged denial of rights under legislation that complies with Annex 23-A, otherwise known as a worker representation in collective bargaining in Mexico. Now, Annex 23A was in the original USMCA text, and it spells out how Mexico must let its workers organize. That text is heavy with union language, and a search of the term right to work never shows up. Now, based on that little caveat, we've got to ask, will the USMCA eventually eliminate right to work laws, perhaps forcing people into unions? Now, if you're thinking that labor reform is good for Mexico, and hey, it might very well be, let's recall the history of labor organizing in this country. It was, and still is, rife with corruption, deceit, and violence. And that is in a free country. In a country that is already corrupt on every level of government, what are the chances that Mexican labor reform will help to place the workers of all three countries on equal footing? Probably not very good. But you know what? We're getting ahead of ourselves, because you won't find labor management in the U.S. Constitution as a responsibility of Congress. Yet, we have a federal agency for it, don't we? Now, we could go on about unaccountable arbitration panels that are run by 10 individuals from each country that have the power to impose penalties on goods and services of the offending company. But you get the general idea that these changes don't necessarily help to foster trade. What they do is to help grow government bureaucracy at a level that is unaccountable to the American consumer, American business owner, and even to Congress. This level of bureaucracy is akin to what the members of the European Union have endured for years. In fact, it's gotten so bad that the British are fighting for their independence from it. And it's not going well for them 3 years into their fight. Now, we predict that the deep state globalists will use the USMCA as a way to usher in a similar union here in North America. The North American Union will eventually sweep away your God-given rights and replace them with world government approved rights that can be revoked at any time. The United States Charter, or the United Nations Charter, is a great example of this. Take a look at it at some point. If socialist Democrats, the Socialist Government of Canada, and Mexican Marxist and Leninist politicians all support the USMCA, it cannot possibly be a win for America or beneficial to America's independence and national sovereignty. The USMCA will be much easier to stop now than to extract ourselves later. So please, call, tweet, and email messages to Congress. The House will probably vote on this on Thursday, December 19th, while the Senate Majority Leader has said that he will wait until after the impeachment trial. We absolutely need you to flood Capitol Hill and your congressman's home district offices with phone calls, tweets, and emails. Congressmen have told us in the past that if they get 30, 40, 50 phone calls on a particular issue, it gets their attention. With your help, we can do that in every congressional district. So please, repeatedly call their home district offices in your state as well as their DC offices. They respond best to calls and tweets. Then please get others to do the same thing as well. There's resources that are available to help you that are included in this video's description. Please protect American sovereignty by stopping the USMCA. And don't forget to share this far and wide. And we thank you very much in advance.